Hi, it's Warren Huart here. Hope you're doing marvelously well today. We are going to be talking about a song called Catalyst, which is by a band called The Gallery. I actually wrote a song with them called Young and Restless, which was covered by Lyric Doobie, which you can also see in another How to Arrange video. But this is a song they wrote on their own. Or Brendan the singer wrote. It's a really, really great song. Straight ahead-ish kind of rock and roll song with a really cool guitar riff. And let's talk about the process of how we recorded it and, how it was basically mixed and the basic arrangement. So please, as ever, subscribe. Go to producelikeapro.com and sign up for the email list, and you'll get a whole bunch of free information on upcoming things. We'll let you know about the premium channel that we're launching and all other kinds of fun stuff. So thank you ever so much for watching. As ever, please leave questions and comments below. I love having a discussion, and I love it when you guys talk to each other as well. And I learn so much from you guys. It's ridiculous. Okay, so let's check it out. Okay, so this was recorded a while ago now, over a year ago. And it has most of the tricks that I do. So a lot of it, if you've been watching my other videos, you will already know. What we did, there was an old song that we had cut, and then we recalled it, changed some guitar parts up and stuff, and then remixed it. So you'll see there's an original version down here from 5 years ago nearly. And then there's a more recent version from about 2 years ago. So it's been around a little bit, this song, but it's a great song, and you'll hear why. Okay. Couple of fun things. After we did the original recording, the band tried some guitar ideas out and recorded them in their little garage setup. And so I liked the guitar intro stuff, so I ended up actually using it because it sounded a little thinner and trashier, and it was a way to create, a really good intro. A lot of the sounds that I'm doing, I'm using more expensive mics, then not like a 57, I might be using, nice condensers, etc. And I'm definitely using a nice mic pre or two. So I might use a Class A mic pre, like the BAE DMP I use a lot, and the 1073 and the 1028. And these are nice mic pre's, and they have transformers and they have low end, which is fantastic. But for this intro, as you can see, there's all these guitars here, and it just sounds a little thinner, not quite so full, and it's just a nice way to give it a really good intro. So now that I've explained it, let's have a listen.
Lit me up like a cigarette, and you burned me down, and now there's nothing left. You were the one who put a spark to this. You were the gasoline, you were the catalyst.
So you can see what happened now. I mean, they're nice guitar tones. No EQ, no compression going on, just here's one guitar. Just very thin, but nice, but no real body on it. There's a double of it. So they recorded these guitars using a Logic system, so they actually came back as stereo files. But they are just mono tracks, so they're panned left and right. As you can see, they didn't print a huge amount of level. These are okay, these two down here, but this one is okay. The top one, the acoustic, is barely audible. If I make there you go. If I make the waveform really super huge, you can see it. So that's the only thing that I'm doing anything clever to, and all I'm doing is using a generic Bomb Factory plugin. And I'm just using it to gain level. It's a good trashy acoustic guitar sound. So basically, I use their recording there just to give us a nice bit of light and shade. As the Italians say, chiaroscuro, like light and shade between the intro guitar and then when the band comes in. Okay, here's the lead vocal. Our usual setup, you can check out our lead vocal tips one. We can put a link to it so you can see everything I do. But here's the lead vocal.
You once lit me up like a cigarette.
Just the intro guitars and the lead vocal. Then we hear the snare cracking here. These drums were done in a different studio, in one of my old studios I had, and a much bigger live room. So I did quite a bit of work, but the actual natural drum sound's pretty darn good in that room. I used my usual samples that you actually can get if you're on the email list. I used those, and they're hand laid in there. This is like old school, before I was using Addictive to come in there and get all the transients and to match so that the velocities were the same. So this drum track here is pretty great, and it's just like a light blend. You see how low these samples are? I mean, at -23, -16, the loudest here. They're super, super quiet, but they just add to it. And then the same thing with the kick here. There's the I Wanna kick, the PR kick, and the warehouse kick, all of which you can get if you sign up on the email list. And then I'm doing my tom trick where I'm gaining down between. So this is the drum sound on its own. So that's the basic drum sound, and all I've added is crash cymbals at the front here. He did play the crashes, but he's not playing them as exaggerated as I want. And sometimes, in mixing, it's great, you can push the overheads, but when you're pushing the overheads, you're also pushing up all the drum bleed. Now, I like the drum bleed in my overheads. It makes the drum sound more natural. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I love that sound. I mean, here's the overheads. You hit the cymbal there, but it's pretty light in the kit. It's a very small cymbal, so I exaggerate it by putting in this crash and little splash, and you'll get this. It's just a subtle amount of top end added to it, but it's great. And I did that on the top of the song there, and you can see in the top of every chorus. And it's a nice little trick, because you can obviously push the cymbal up without bringing up the balance of the kit and ruining what the overheads are doing for you. Okay, there's tambourine added, and then of course there's a bass, and I'm only using 2 elements here for this. I'm using the DI, and then I'm using a SansAmp, just super low. There's not a lot of stuff going on this one. There's a multiband compressor just keeping the low end even, but it's hardly doing anything. There's a bit of low roll off, not very steep, but about 50 gently coming off, just so it keeps out of the way of the kick. And you'll notice I always do this before I do the bass boost, so I can control it a little nicer. And then I'm doing the bass boost, so it's pulling that back up. So what I mean by that, just to clarify, is here's your bass cut. So we're rolling some 50 off, and then we're boosting like 80, a nice wide 80 boost. And the thing is, if I hadn't done this, if I bypass it, sounds good, but it's also pulling up a lot of 60 and below, which is going to interfere with my kick. So by doing this before I using the R bass, it just controls that bass boost cut really nicely. We can hear that with the drums. A little flammy with that floor tom. In the track it doesn't really notice, but it's a little painful solo, to be honest. Next we have Shay, the original lead guitar player, playing this part. It's a great lead guitar part. I printed a DI as well, as I normally do, and the reason why I print a DI is like if I want to reamp. It doesn't, if you can do it and you've got 2 inputs at a time, just print a DI straight from the guitar as well as an amp tone. It'll give you more options, for amp simulation, etc. A couple of things you'll notice on the guitars. We actually flipped the panning on the master of all the guitar buses because we wanted to flip the guitars around. So it's a little confusing because this will say left, but it's actually coming out on the right. So the first guitar here on the lead guitar part is panned slightly to the right. And then it's doubled of itself, with set to 100% on EchoBoy here, playing just like a basic, at 1/64th, just a simple slap. Those are both going to a good old-fashioned D Verb, and that D Verb has got an MV2 on it, a little parallel compression, just evening it up so there's a bit more energy in the reverberation the whole time. But also there is an EchoBoy over the whole thing, which comes from the main guitar here, and that's an 1/8 note delay, so you'll hear it when we stop here. So it's nice. So, you know, there's 3 elements going on there. There's the EchoBoy, there's the Verb, and then there's the delay on the main guitar on an 1/8 note. But it's not overly complicated. Okay, also underneath that is the organ. And the same thing, just duplicated it, and then put a D Verb on it. I don't always do that. Sometimes I'll send an auxiliary to it, but that was just a quick and easy fix. And it's a plate, but it's a long plate. The organ sub has a spread on it. So both the Verb and the main one go into this, and then it's spread pretty wide. I guess kind of keeps it. I like to take if I'm going to do any kind of width enhancement, I usually do it on keyboards and stuff, just to kind of get them a little bit out of the middle, so that the kick, the snare, and the vocal on the bass sits right in the middle. I'll pan guitars either side, but you'll find a lot on my synths, and even on synth strings, not pianos, but definitely organs and anything kind of paddy-ish. I'll just pan them a little tiny bit wider just to create a little bit more center for other things to sit in there. So that's basically it. That's the elements. Very straightforward. A rhythm guitar is the same thing. EchoBoy on one side, this time set to a 32nd, so almost a complete slap, and then lead slightly on the other side. So let's hear a little bit of the intro going into it.
Gasoline, you were the catalyst.
All right, here we come up to the verse.
It was last call. It wasn't you, it was the alcohol.
We're dropping out the bass here. So here we've got just a very simple chug, and then an arpeggio. And again, both of these have exactly the same treatment that the other guitars do. One side is dry, the other side has the EchoBoy on it just to give it like a little slap. Same with the arpeggio. Top one here is dry, the bottom one has the EchoBoy, but this is panned the other direction. And then both of those are going to a guitar reverb, which again is just a D Verb and the MV2 just to even it out. So very straightforward. Here we go. It's a little sloppy, but I like it. Yeah, this is a rock and roll band. So it's not like super, super tight. We're allowing for a little bit of sloppy performance. Now, the second half of the verse there where the bass comes in and the energy picks up, same parts, but just driving through. Just played with more aggression. And the bass is coming. And the drums go to the double time. So let's listen to the whole of that verse.
Last call. It wasn't you, it was the alcohol. We talked all night, but you were so far gone. Another night on Sunset Boulevard. This is a walk away.
Double time beat. More aggression on the guitar and bass coming in. And a build here. Cool. Now the groove in there is basically the same two guitars with a rhythm guitar playing. Here's your rhythm. Very straightforward. Just a Telecaster through an AC-15. Today's guitar was my Marshall. So if you listen to those two parts together, they create like a basic harmony at times. Little energy part in the middle on the drum fill. You'll hear. The rhythm drops out on that fill. Bass, and of course some tambourine to drive it. So that's the basic elements once you add in your organ driving. The only addition is a harmony song here. So very simple, good old-fashioned rock and roll song. And then after that, we go back to the re-intro, which of course is that guitar lead part. Catalyst. Called verse 3, it isn't. So the little distorted delay there is done with a quarter note set using the Digi-Rack modulation delay, the most basic one. There's a distortion from the SansAmp going into it, so it's trashing it out. A little bit of reverb to make it more distant. To flow. Sometimes you need more than and then it's being compressed by an RVox, so it's a little bit more even. And all we're doing is we're sending, you see here it's bus 59, we're just sending it from years to flow. Sometimes you need literally just automating the send. So it's there. Well, you could obviously draw it in and out here, but it's so much easier to automate it from the vocal because then what you do is you just... I never wanted your tears to flow. All you do is, if I open this up here so you can see it, and we go and select 59 here, you'll see it's just automated in those two places. And it's so much easier to do that. You've got 2 in that first verse, 2 in that second verse, and at the end, because I can just pinpoint the words that I want to do. It's easy. And don't you know, it won't be easy letting this love go. I never wanted your tears to flow. Sometimes you need more than a... Great, so that delay, that long delay is running continuously, and then I just pick words that I want to send to it. And the great thing about that is I can visually use this as a cue as to where I want to send it, and it takes seconds to draw it in, as opposed to trying to guess where it's going to play back on the return. You know, that's just personally how I like to do it. Okay, great. So, second half of the second verse. On Motown double time beat. Now the first chorus we did like a little build into it, and as on this one you can see we just add like this extra note on the vocal and harmonize it, and then give it a break. Actually a 3/4 bar in there, just to second chorus, same as the first. We've got a little edit heavy here to make it tighter, but you can see. Now he's a big fan of Oasis, this guitar player. I mean, can you tell? Sounds like a Noel Gallagher guitar solo. And I loved it, but to be honest, because it was so percussive at that moment, you can tell I got a little edit-tastic. You know, I could consolidate and pretend that I didn't edit that heavily, but I did. I've made sure that the groove felt really good on the solo, so it's not super tight, but it feels good. But then these are edited to the feel of the drums. They're not perfect, but that way it wasn't, if it's too sloppy around that guitar solo, the guitar solo started to get lost because there was a lot of conflicting transients. So I edited that pretty tight so it felt great with the drums. And sometimes that can be, if it's a programmed drums, gridding. If in this instance it's not gridding, it's just making it feel good against the drums. Which can take a little bit longer because you're not just sitting there and going exactly to eighth notes. But, you know, it's about making it feel good. Okay, next section. There's a nice slide part. They're all using the same reverb and delay there. Oh, the only thing I will say, which I forgot and neglected to mention, on the solo I did do one extra thing, and this proves why I use the DI. Now I have my favorite analog channel here, just to kind of give it some chutzpah, give it some huevos, and then on the other side is the EchoBoy, which is just set like a slap. But here I took the DI and got a little crazy. The time adjuster was to just get the phase, the polarity good, because the DI is more direct and doesn't have that amp delay. As you can see, it just pulls it back slightly. You see the transients here. But then I got a T-Rax, just a compressor to even it out, and I'm using good old-fashioned SansAmp. That just adds some energy, just a little bit of rip aggression. Very subtle, but it does sound good. So that's the reason why I like to print the DI. See, I get to use it for fun things like that. Sometimes I'll be more aggressive, but you can see where it can be very useful. So let's take it from the slide part out. Organ playing. Rhythm here. And because it was a little emptier, I've actually doubled the rhythm guitar and I'm doing the same trick. EchoBoy with a little slap delay on the opposite side. Broken down chorus.
You burned me down and now there's nothing left. You were the one who put a spark to this. You were the gasoline. You were the catalyst.
Double time. Let me go back to a traditional chorus.
Light me up like a cigarette. Burn me down. There's nothing left.
And this extra guitar comes in. So it's got the lead, that's the signature of the song, and then this funky kind of messed up rhythm part. Yeah, it just keeps playing out. Great. So quite straightforward. The arrangement things that we did that I think are important is making sure that going into each chorus was different. One has like the little build, the other one has a break and like a 3/4 bar, so it kind of pushes in. The chorus, you know, has the tambourine lift. The intro, sorry to go back, but the intro chorus, I'm using, you know, the band's original demo because it's a little thinner sounding. And that was like just a great way to kind of set up the song before the big fat guitars came in. So there's some subtle stuff going on in there. There's no traditional bridge, it's a guitar solo part. And then there's a breakdown chorus, and we never go back to the exact chorus, we just go back to a kind of upbeat version of it. So it's a little left of center, but it's also a little kind of straightforward as well. It's like fun you know, fun arrangement ideas to make, you know, good old fashioned rock and roll 3/4 chord songs sound more interesting. Thanks ever so much for watching. Hope you have a marvelous time. Please leave me any comments and questions below. This is good old-fashioned 2-guitar rock and roll, 2-guitar bass, drums, and Hammond organ. Obviously, there's a couple of additional guitar parts, but essentially that band can play that song live with the lead guitar player covering all the lead parts, and obviously the singer who plays, Brendan, who plays rhythm, covering all the rhythm parts. It's a very straightforward song, but we took it out of the kind of ordinary verse, chorus, bridge, chorus out by having a chorus, broken down chorus intro, then bringing in the riff, guitar riff. Then we went to, you know, chorus, and then with the second verse, we kind of kept the energy going. And after the second chorus, we went straight to a guitar solo, to a breakdown chorus. But instead of coming back to the already established chorus part, we twisted it up a little bit. So it's pretty cool and a lot of fun. As ever, please leave some comments and questions below. Tell me what you've been doing and the kind of bands that you work with, and please ask any questions about this that you feel like I didn't cover. I love to talk about this stuff. This is what we do. You know, there's different amps and guitars and drums. If you want to know what I used and what mics, please ask away, and I'd love to talk about it. Thank you ever so much for watching, and I look forward to speaking to you soon.